All right, Lance, it is time to talk the Alabama Crimson Tide. I don't know if you need to, kind of shake it out. I don't know if you need another drink here, some fresh ice in your beverage. I'm just gonna turn this over to you. Like, what gets you hot and bothered about the 2025 Alabama Crimson Tide?
Well, obviously, the addition of Ron Grubb, having the continuity of the coaching staff that Alabama fans and everybody thought that I'm going to use the word that we were getting with when Kalen DeBoer was hired. Obviously, the longevity of the history of the Kalen DeBoer, Ron Grubb have been together forever, and their success coincides with one another. It just does. And then so Kalen DeBoer gets to Alabama, brings his boys with him over from Washington, and offensive line coach Scott Huff and Ryan Grubb in that group, and then they're gone, head to the Seattle Seahawks. And then he has to try to figure that out, along with everybody picking off players off the roster in the transfer portal during that stupid 30-day rule. Yeah, you can tell how I feel about that. But what gets me excited about this bunch is I think that while Ty Simpson is unproven, I think a lot of people forget he's also a former 5-star. That he is one of these guys he's a former number 2 quarterback in the country coming out of high school. His dad is a football coach and coaches at the college level. So, I just think that he hasn't had it necessarily like between the years, I guess, throughout his career at Bama to be able to be the starter, be the leader of the team and take control of the locker room. Everything you hear is that he's doing that right now, but I think that he's a better fit for what this offense wants to be. Like Jalen Milroe was a square peg in a round hole. Going from, I tweeted this out from our Twitter all the time and stuff and asked people about this. Imagine being an offensive-minded coach that wants to have a downfield attack you down the field in the passing game and the vertical passing game. Imagine going from Michael freaking Penix to Milroe. Again, Milroe's a great athlete, fantastic athlete. Not taking that away from him, but he wasn't the guy to run this offense. And
Lance, I was trying to beat that drum, I think, last March before the 2024 season. I was really concerned about that because you're absolutely right. They're just two diametric opposites at the quarterback position, and I'm really excited to see a more prototypical fit to this system this year.
Yeah, and again, with this offense, with Grubb and DeBoer, we saw what the wide receiver room and the passing game looked like at Washington. I mean, it was literally as good as anything we've seen 2 years in a row when they were there. And they had 6 wide receivers at Alabama this last year hit the transfer portal. Now, the casual will look at that and say, oh, we got a lot of people that don't want to be in Alabama's offense or they didn't want to be a part of Alabama. Nope. That was, we need to get our type of wide receivers in here. And they went out and got an Isaiah Horton from Miami, who's a bigger bodied X-type receiver like a Roma Dunze was at Washington. Go up and get the football and get the contested catches and go get the football down the field. Jalen Hale was a guy that came out of the state of Texas that was supposed to be the number 1 receiver for Alabama last year. And he got hurt before the year started. So the receiver core overall is deeper and is more of a better fit for this offense. The quarterback is more of a better fit for this offense. My question mark is, and it will be until they prove it to me, 2 years in a row, I had somebody sell me the worst used car ever, talking about how great this offensive line was going to be 2 years in a row and all of the trash talk from this offensive line. We're going to get back to playing joyless murder ball and stuff like the old Saban days. And dude, they just weren't that. They just weren't. And the inconsistencies from the offensive line, you'd have games where against LSU, for example, and Death Valley last year, that they looked like an unstoppable force running the football with Milroe in that bunch. And then they go to Oklahoma and they look like they're scared of contact and they couldn't block me. It just, the inconsistencies of the offensive line, the inconsistencies, the feast or famine from Milroe last year. I think that this bunch and the hopes, as obviously as a fan, is that you're going to get more consistent play from the quarterback position. You're going to get more consistent play from the offensive line this year for this offense. we'll get to the defense in a minute, but that's just where I wanted to go more first for this was start on the offensive side.
Trey, when we got to the offensive line there, did you feel the one of us meme pop up in your head? Because boy, you might have some Aggie to you there, Lance. We tell you what, if there's a fan base that buys used cars and hopes and dreams every single season, it's us. I certainly empathize with you there, but I agree. Like there has been a physicality. There was a physicality last year that was missing from that Alabama team, and I think if you were looking for like the most recent crystallization of it, it was that bowl game against Michigan, where Michigan had no business coming in and winning. And, neither team probably wanted to be there. I get all of that. But then Michigan went out and just curb stomped Alabama, especially in the trenches on certain plays. It was like, oh, okay, one, where was this Michigan team all season long?
Yeah.
And two, like, does Alabama have a problem this offseason? Now, I think they've gone about it the right way. I think they've handled it. It feels like now we've kind of rebuilt some trust and confidence, and maybe that's some hopium on my end as well. But I do feel like Alabama has the right pieces in place, like you've described, to get back to, okay, this is Crimson Tide football. So flip it over to the defense. I look at this too deep, and I like what they have at linebacker. I really like what they have coming back in the secondary. And, I mean, I think I like some of the pieces along the defensive line as well, like LT Overton. Like, that guy could rack up 12 to 13 sacks in a heartbeat this season. Talk to me about where you are on the defensive side of the ball. Kane Womack in year 2. Are they doing anything for you? Do you expect kind of the Iron Curtain back in Tuscaloosa?
I do think that like last year down the back half of the year, that defense really improved as they learned. They call it the vision coverage, and Kane Womack calls it the swarm defense. I think that they got better down the back half of the year last year, starting to get more comfortable in this defense. And you hit the nail on the head with the secondary. I'm extremely comfortable with the secondary. They've got one of the best secondaries in the country, and they're very deep. Like they return. I know Malachi Moore is gone, but like Keon Sabb went down last year, was probably their best player in the secondary before he went down with an injury. He's back. But what happened with that is when Bray Hubbard came in and played for him, he ended up being a huge bright spot for that defense. So really, I don't think that that's losing a starter. I know Malachi Moore was good, but like having Bray Hubbard step in like he did and Keon Sabb there, I'm really bullish on the secondary. And they brought in a really good anytime you bring in a defensive player from Morgan Scully's defense at Utah that played for Kyle Whittingham, I think that guy, I like what I know that I'm going to like what that guy's about. He's going to be about good stuff. He's going to be physical, probably very good and technical. Cam Calhoun, corner that they brought in from Utah, they said that he really stood out during the spring and is pretty much trying to make them give him some playing time. But if I have a position of caution, it's not the D-line. The D-line, I do like the D-line this year. I think they're deep. I don't know if they necessarily have some of the like just mega difference makers that they had in the past with like Jonathan Allen and people like that during the Saban years. But I think as a collective overall, as a group, I think they can be really good. Quay Rusall went down last year that played as a young guy for them. He went down with an injury earlier in the year. He was really jumping off the page early in the year as a guy that could be that next great one. His high school teammate, James Smith, both of them were 5 stars coming out of Carver Montgomery, coming out of high school. And James Smith down the stretch, when Alabama's defense started getting better later in the year, he was one that was playing a lot along that interior of that defensive line and was a reason why that defense was getting better. But the inside linebacker position is a position that I'm a little nervous about because of the depth of it. Deontay Lawson had just about as nasty of a knee injury as you could have in that disaster game in Norman at Oklahoma last year. He's the captain of the defense. He's the green dot linebacker. He is one of the team leaders. It sounds like his rehab's going really well. He was at SEC Media Days this past week as well. And today sounds like he's going to be okay. But obviously you worry about that when you got a guy that's coming off such a massive knee injury. It wasn't like a slight little tear. It was huge that he had so late in the year. Justin Jefferson, who's kind of a veteran, is going to be playing alongside with him. But after that, it's young guys and a transfer that they brought in who was probably one of Colorado's best defenders. I know Colorado's not just elite on defense, but Nakai Hill-Green, when I saw they transferred in from Colorado, I'm not going to lie, I'm like, okay, we got a linebacker from Colorado. How good is this guy really going to be? But I looked into him immediately, and he originally went to Michigan and actually played some at Michigan as a freshman. And if Harbaugh and that bunch that Michigan, if they're recruiting you to come play defense there, obviously you can play. So I think they really like him, and they liked him when he was adding so far this offseason in the spring and whatnot. But the inside linebacker position is just a little bit of worry for me because of the depth.
I mean, I don't know that I have all that much to add, other than those inside linebackers. Like, at the end of the day, the depth might be a little bit thin, but it feels like if the defensive line is doing what they're supposed to, that might be the one spot that you could perhaps get away with having kind of starters and maybe not much else proven behind them. Trey, I'll let you kick it off on the schedule. I don't know that there's many people that expect the Florida State game to be all that competitive. I have a hard time believing in Thomas Castellanos leading this Noles resurgence in game one over the Crimson Tide. They host Wisconsin in week 3, and then they open conference play with Georgia. So when you look at the entirety of the schedule, is there kind of a number that you gravitate towards?
I see 10-2 or 11-1, honestly, when I look at the schedule. That Georgia game on the road is going to be tough. Another one that's already been selected as a night game, but Tennessee, they get them at home. Tennessee hasn't won in Tuscaloosa since 2003. It's been quite a while since the Vols have had any success there. That South Carolina game, we picked it on our college football road trip back in June when we did that episode, and I kind of stood on the table for it because they, to steal the line from Josh Pate, he's been very big on the Cocktober surprise, and that has kind of been the game that's been circled as the home game where South Carolina kind of ruins someone's season. But after that, you have an LSU team that, for all Alabama's faults last year, they just bulldozed in Baton Rouge and really derailed LSU's season. They have the Iron Bowl on the road, which is always difficult and definitely will come down to the wire and have something weird happen at the end since it's being played at Jordan-Hare.
Yep.
But I look at the schedule and I look at the depth on that defense, and I think more often than not, the Alabama defense is going to be the best unit on the field when they step onto the field against most of this schedule. They might have some arguments there against the Georgia defense or South Carolina's offense if it's really humming by October and not just completely beat up by that brutal stretch that we highlighted earlier. But defense is going to carry them a lot this year. And if Ty Simpson can learn that offense and fit well, like I think he can, I really don't see any reason why Alabama isn't one of the top seeds in the playoff this year.
Lance, I've got them at 11-1. I think if they can survive South Carolina, maybe that Georgia game is the only game that they drop. I know it's a little close to home, but what's your home or heart say?
Yeah, the South Carolina game is definitely one that scares me to death. I'm just going to be honest. As soon as I saw that on the schedule, where it was coming right after the Tennessee game, knowing like Trey alluded to, Cocktober. It just we've seen teams for years, especially the last few years, really good teams. We saw that Josh Heupel Tennessee team a few years ago go there and get just blasted out of nowhere. So that game definitely scares me. And dude, I'm going to really shock y'all with this, and y'all are probably going to respect me for this because the old battered Aggie syndrome, like that you talk about.
Yeah.
This is the fan of me is really going to come out here on this one. I might be the only person that because I guess I'm an Alabama fan on this, is that I'm a little worried, actually. Not worried like I think they're going to necessarily lose the game, but I'm a little worried about Florida State.
No.
And let me tell you why.
Please do.
Preparing for that team is going to be borderline impossible because new offensive coordinator, Gus Malzahn, it's not going to be just his offense, like him meshing his offense with Mike Norvell's offense. Like, what's that going to look like? Bringing in a Castellanos do I think he's like some of the I can't believe he said what he said. Like, Like, I just really can't. I don't know why you would do that. But like, I'm a little worried about that. And like, I'm big on the emotion part in college football, the back against the wall stuff. And like, Florida State is probably more so than any. Like, I know every team that didn't have a great year last year, they're out to prove or whatever. But really, no team is out there more than anybody, maybe in all of college football, that has that like back against the wall, try to prove it like mentality. And no better way to do that than to have a game like that right out of the gate, that you have that script A, like Alabama, the team that kept you out of the college football playoff 2 years ago when you went undefeated, all those things. And you're going to Tallahassee with a new quarterback. It worries me a little bit. Am I saying that I think Alabama is going to lose to Florida State? I am not. I just don't think that's going to be an absolute like boat race. Now, people that aren't fans of Alabama probably all think that. And I'm sure there are plenty of Alabama fans that think that as well. But yeah, at Georgia, at South Carolina, and yes, I'm saying it, at Auburn, because even Alabama fans can admit that is a house of absolute, like a haunted house. When you go there, the voodoo magic that goes on there. A&M saw that. You guys saw that in the last year, how that can turn into you saw that a couple years ago with Cadillac Carnell Williams when he was the coach, of that game. So I've got Alabama right now. If you gunned ahead, made me pick it right now, I would say 10-2, 11-1. And obviously they've got the team that can get into the playoffs, the type of team on both sides of the ball, especially on defense, that can win a national championship. It's just going to come down to, can Ty Simpson run this Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer offense like I hope he can.
Lance, I don't mean to scare you even more, but the last time Ty Simpson started a game in the state of Florida, it was not fun for the Crimson Tide.
No, it wasn't. It was not. But actually, if I remember correctly, it was the what was his name? The Notre Dame Buckner.
Tyler Buckner. Yeah.
Tyler Buckner. I think he was actually the one that started. And he was so good that he went to go play lacrosse after that. But Simpson did come in. Simpson did come in and play in that game and wasn't much better at all. One of the most head-scratching games I can remember as a fan, to be honest with you.
That truly was a what dimension are we in right now? Rainy.
You could barely see the field with the fog that was rolling in.
Yeah, not to go full on this like podcast here, but dude, I had people over here. You know how it is when you have a bunch of people that you're around trying to watch a game, just 19,000 conversations going on. It's honestly like if I had my football watching hell. Like I want to sit there, just a couple of people, or just me and my wife, or whatever, because she watches ball too, and 3 TVs, and really be dialed into the game. Dude, I've got stuff on the grill. I've got people asking me to do this, do that, do this, do that. And honestly, I was okay with it because I was so freaking stressed out during all that. But yeah, man, I'm hoping that it doesn't go that way, and we're sitting there in the third quarter and it's like 6-3. I don't think we're going to have to worry. I don't think we'll have to worry about that in this game with the Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb, and Gus Malzahn coaching the offenses in that game.
I work with one of the doctors in our practice is a Crimson Tide grad, so I feel the stress, the success, the loss on that Monday. He comes into work on Monday, and tell you what, you can, even without watching a second of college football, if the Crimson Tide won or lost based on how he opens that door to start his day at the practice. So,
that's a real Alabama fan then, Mitch.
That's right. That's right.